Okay, we're going to take a look at how you're going to do the scoring on the VMI. At this point, you have completed how to calculate a chronological age correctly by watching the YouTube video link that was provided in your resources, and you have administered the VMI test according to the standardized directions provided to you in this manual. At this point, you're ready to score. This manual has really specific criteria that will tell you how to score each item on the test. It is your job to go through and read the criteria for each item that you administered and determine if the student gets credit for it. Each item has sometimes one set of criteria. This one has three. You're going to look at the three criteria or whatever number of criteria is on each item, and you are going to say, is there two intersecting lines? Did my student create two intersecting lines? If it looks something like this, then probably not. Does it have four legs that are at least 1/4 inch long? At least half of each line within the 20 degree of the correct angle. Here it gives you an example of it should be 0 degrees by 90 degrees. Are they within 20 degrees of that? Yes. Probably not here because they're measuring with a protractor that it's 25 and not 20. So it's very close, very similar. You'll need a protractor to see the difference. Again, it gives examples of what does not meet the criteria, and those numbers refer to why that doesn't meet the criteria versus this meets all three of the criteria. Again, there's multiple items with multiple criteria. You're going to need to read each one. For the square, there's only one criteria. And are there four clearly defined sides? This one doesn't even have a closed angle, but there are four clearly defined sides. Even though this has a rounded corner and an open corner, their side is clearly different than this side. Versus this one has a side and then a big curve. This one has a side and a big curve. This is not, you can't say exactly where this ends and begins for the other side. This one you can. So you're going to have to use your best judgment on each one. Is there a single line? Yes or no? Is it more than 1/2 inch within 20 to 70 degrees? You're going to have to look at those and determine, is it meeting that criteria? Yes or no? Is it meeting that criteria? Yes or no? If it's no on any one of the criteria, then they do not get the point. That's simple as that. You will do that for all of the items that your student completed. Once you hit 0 for 3 in a row, you're done scoring, even if they did get some points later on. And that goes for all three subtest items. We are going to move down to the scoring points. So we've already calculated, and for our student, we're going to pretend our student was 8 years and 5 months old. And again, calculating that chronological age is extremely important. If you do not have the correct chronological age, you will not be able to provide accurate data for that student. So you may be giving them credit when they don't, or you may be being too harsh on them and expecting more than they should be able to do at a particular age if you score their age wrong. So for this situation, our student is 8 years, 5 months. So we need to find the scale where this is a scale for a 6-year-old. This is a scale for 7-year-olds. This is the scale for 8 years through 8 years, 11 months. So, and then within that, there's 8 to 8.1, 8.2 to 8.3, 8.3, 8.4 to 8.5. So this is the column I'm going to need to look at. And if my student scored 15 points on the Greenberry VMI form, I'm going to look, okay, their raw score was 15 points. That means they are at a 74 on the scaled score. Then I'm going to look at the visual perceptual portion. And they scored 18 points on the visual perceptual portion. Again, I'm going to look for 8 years, 5 months. So that's 8 to 8.3, they're older than that. So this is 8.4 to 8.7. 8.5 is in between there. So I'm looking at 18-point raw score is a standard score of 81. And now I'm going to look at the motor raw score. Again, 8 years, 5 months. So I'm in that middle column again. They scored 12 points on that, so that's a standard score of 53. I am now taking this information and I'm going to go to the standard score conversion to percentile chart. I am looking at the standard score that I just got on the previous chart. So the Green Vary VMI form, they had a standard score of 74, which is a scaled score of 5 and a percentile rank of 4. They had a standard score of 81 on the blue perception portion. So that is a scaled score of 6 and a percentile rank of 10. And they had a standard score of 53 on the motor coordination part, which is a 1 standard score, and below the first percentile rank. It's at a 0.1 percentile. So this student would be profoundly delayed in this area. Your students that you're scoring probably will not be. But often this is what we would see with students in the public school system that are referred for an evaluation. There is a chart, I believe, also available to calculate or get an age equivalent. And it's basically done the same way. It's making sure you're looking at the standard score, raw score, or scaled scores, and make sure you're using the correct number to find the other correct number.